Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a super fascinating dynamic that honestly derails projects before they even get off the ground. It wastes countless hours, massive chunks of budget, and your most valuable resources. So what is it? Well, it's an incredibly common trap that business professionals, agile teams, product owners, really all of us, fall into time and time again. It's the mistake of jumping straight to solutions. The source material reveals something kind of counterintuitive here. Most project issues don't actually start during the delivery phase. The breakdown doesn't happen when code is being written or when designs are finalized. No, it starts much, much earlier. It happens at the exact moment we jump to a solution just a bit too quickly.
Have you ever heard a problem and immediately said, "Let's build this"? Picture it. You're in a meeting, a stakeholder passionately explains a problem, and within minutes, the whole team is enthusiastically nodding, saying, "Yep, let's build this." Look, it's completely human nature to want to fix things right away. We are literally hardwired to be problem solvers. When someone brings us an issue, our gut instinct is to immediately design a bridge over that obstacle. But as the research we're looking at today clearly shows, that very instinct, it can actually be our biggest liability when we're designing systems and processes.
Moving right into part 1, the fast solution trap.
To really expose the myth of immediate productivity, we've got to look at the exact phrase that triggers the trap in the first place. Let's build this. When a team says this, the conversation shifts instantly. It creates this really powerful illusion of momentum, and it feels fantastic in the moment, right? Suddenly you've got a plan, you have actionable items, and everyone feels highly efficient and responsive. But, and this is a big but, the source material reveals that this adrenaline rush almost always leads teams in completely the wrong direction. Why? Because we've started solving before we truly understand the problem. The team ends up running in an absolute sprint, but, well, they're facing the wrong way.
Let's transition to part 2, slow down to speed up.
To wrap our heads around this slow down to speed up philosophy, let's dive into a really relatable real-world case study. From our sources, the initial ask from the stakeholder was simple. They said, "We need a new feature to improve customer experience." The immediate instinct for the dev team was to just start building it. It felt like a quick win. But instead, they decided to pump the brakes. When they slowed down their analysis and dug into the actual user data, they discovered a starkly different root cause. Customers weren't struggling because of missing features. Actually, scratch that, it wasn't about missing features at all. The real problem was that customers were abandoning the process because the existing user journey was incredibly confusing and just poorly mapped out.
And here is the terrifying reality of this specific case study. We would have added more features and made the experience worse. Think about that. If the team had blindly moved forward with that initial solution, they would have spent considerable time, money, and developer resources to build more features. And the result? By stacking new features on top of a fundamentally flawed flow, they would have made an already confusing user journey significantly more cluttered. They would have actively worsened the customer experience while spending thousands of dollars to do it. It's wild, but it perfectly illustrates the danger of jumping to the first solution presented.
All right, moving on to section 3. 3 essential diagnostic questions.
This brings us to the true role of a business analyst, or really anyone in a problem-solving role. You have to act as the brake pedal. You need to slow things down to ask the first essential diagnostic question. What problem are we really solving? When a stakeholder hands you a proposed feature, you've got to gently but firmly steer the conversation away from that solution and right back to the core pain point. By asking this, you strip away the assumptions. You force everyone in the room to clearly articulate the actual friction point the user is experiencing in their day-to-day workflow.
Okay, so once a core problem is successfully stated, you have to dig even deeper. Question 2, is this the root cause or just a symptom? The analysis shows that fixing a symptom is literally like putting a Band-Aid on a surface-level issue. Sure, it covers up the immediate pain, but the underlying disease, it remains entirely untreated. If you don't find the root cause, you are practically guaranteeing that the exact same problem will pop up in a brand new way down the line, and that's just going to require yet another set of quick-fix features. Finally, we complete this analytical framework by asking, are we fixing the right thing? This is the ultimate reality check for your entire project. It ensures that the problem you've uncovered actually aligns with the broader strategic goals of the business and the overarching needs of the users. It confirms that out of all the myriad problems you could throw development resources at, this is the one you absolutely should solve. It's what separates the nice-to-haves from the absolutely critical business needs.
Implementing this diagnostic process creates a massive shift in mindset. Instead of simply reacting to solutions with the old mindset of, "We need this feature," teams reframe the conversation to ask, "What problem is driving this need?" This single pivot in communication is a real game changer. By asking what problem is driving the need, you prevent unnecessary development cycles. You drastically improve the quality of the final solution, and, this is huge, you build deep stakeholder trust. Why? Because it proves you're committed to solving their actual pain, rather than just taking their orders.
Which brings us to Section 4, the Problem Definition Rule. Everything we've explored from the source material culminates in this definitive boundary. If the problem is not clearly defined, the solution is not ready to be discussed. This golden rule acts as a safeguard. It has to govern your project discussions moving forward. If a solution is pitched in a meeting, but the team cannot clearly define the exact problem it solves, the process simply pauses. The team goes right back to those diagnostic questions. It is the ultimate defense mechanism against wasted development and scope creep.
So how do we put this philosophy into practice? The source material suggests 3 highly actionable takeaways that your team can start utilizing immediately. First, simply pause before agreeing to a solution. Take a breath, let the adrenaline settle. Second, apply that diagnostic framework and ask at least 2 questions about the problem before any brainstorming begins. And third, rigorously check if you are solving a mere symptom or uncovering the actual root cause. The biggest takeaway here is that in almost all cases, the very first solution you hear, it's probably not the right one.
So I want you to be totally honest about your own workplace. Which happens more in your team right now? Do solutions come first, or does problem clarity come first? If solutions are leading the way, it might be time for you to champion problem clarity. Slow down, ask the hard questions, and make absolutely sure you are fixing the right thing before a single step of development begins. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.